Kinetic Rain is a new skill coming in 3.27 Keepers of the Flame. Pretty much the idea, you shoot out a barrage of wand attacks that will land on the ground in an area and then they will explode afterwards with anomalies. Now, these auto-target to nearby enemies when they're nearby, and it seems like as though they shoot out in a large rectangle in front of you, as you can see here. Now, I have gathered some footage about the behavior of kinetic rain. The biggest issue that we have that we're talking about within, my Discord and other people as well is, do these overlap? Like, can you actually hit the target more than once? So we have, of course, a 143% attack damage skill. Can it hit more than once or twice or three times or however many? So we can look at some footage here. So let's talk about the first round of footage. Here's the first one from the reveal here. You have a little bit of footage here. So as you can see here, it has a decent amount of area, which is interesting. But we're going to watch this very slow, right? Very slow. So as you can see, it shoots out from a rectangle in front of him. So first things off, that's a lot of overlaps. If those actually hit the same target, that is kind of absurd. I can see here, it's like that is a lot of extra hits, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you scale a little bit of area, you might be able to actually make them overlap pretty well, but that's to be seen, right? Now, one thing that's interesting is if there's nearby enemies, they will auto target to them, and then the anomalies will explode if there are enemies nearby as well. So you can actually see the grouping thanks to the anomalies here, and actually makes it really easy. So here's a big pack, right? And you can see how many anomalies. I believe that was 2 casts, and as you can see, it's in a big rectangle, right? So let's say if the boss is here, they got hit by 6 there. So if they do actually shotgun, they might they might take a lot of damage, it turns out. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem like as though if it does end up actually shotgunning, like it seems like it do in the footage, but we'll see, right? It might not. We're not entirely sure, unfortunately, because, this is PoE, and PoE is just like that sometimes. But with the gem itself, it's 143% base, 110 attack speed base, which is interesting. Another few interesting things about it is, first things off, the reverse version of it cannot be used by traps, mines, and totems because of the anomaly stuff. The anomaly stuff would probably be really weird with totems. It would just be awkward. But there is a transfigured gem coming, only one, where it removes this, but it removes the anomalies. So you only get the initial barrage, but it then can be used by totems. That might actually end up being interesting depending on the numbers that they give it, right? Now, of course, like I said, this is all requiring them to shotgun. So if they do end up shotgunning, they'll be interesting. But let's talk about some theory crafting, right? So we have the assassin here. It has been reworked. I wanted to mess around with it, so infused toxins, right? All damage from hits can poison. We can run like a tri-ele wand. They also changed so that we have attack wands now, so you can roll only attack mods on the wand, which would make it much easier to actually roll modifiers on them, which will be interesting, unless if they mess with the math in the back end, right? So I did end up making a path building of it. So right now, it doesn't look like that much damage, but this is only one projectile. So we do have fake kinetic rain here. Kinetic blast is very close to kinetic rain here. As you can see, it's 155, while kinetic rain is 145, and the explosion is 165. So 155 is good for this, right? And then the attack speed is different by only 5%. So this is just a kinetic rain, poison assassin, right? Just all the stuff. Unfortunately, we can't grab these because PUB hasn't updated yet, so we do have to run this. I am just using half of the poison duration because I'm not sure how much uptime you'd get with that. But, all damage from hits can poison. That's all we really have, right? Now, of course, I'm going for 8 withered stacks because we have wither totems, which aren't that reliable. And then we have withering step, which is only 8 withered debuffs. So we're only going with 8. So far, I did make this PUB, I tried to make it as tanky as possible. We would be grabbing the physical damage recoup node, and we are immune to ignites and poisons and stuff, and bleeds, which is interesting. But I tried to make it as tanky as possible without sacrificing damage. So, we have some HP, we have some Fizzmax hit, we'll have a guard skill eventually. I do not have that clicked because I think that's troll to have it clicked beforehand. But now let's think about kinetic rain here. So if we go over here, let's say first things off, it's going to hit twice at least, right? Because it's going to hit with the first thing and hit twice. It would be nonsensical if it didn't. So here you go, 167. Now let's go look at the footage, right? Now let's watch the footage over again. Now this is assuming we're in La La Land where all the projectiles can shotgun, right? So let's go over here. Let's just look at this one. So that's from one cast, right? That is from one cast. If there was a boss there, it would be hit by a lot of different explosions. So like, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, maybe 6, you could maybe say 7, right? Maybe 7. Now, what's interesting though, is you can actually add projectiles to the skill as well. The projectile starts out with 13 projectiles. So if we go over to, here it is, go over to here. As you can see, it has 13 projectiles. We get 2 at base, and we could add GMP as well, which would add more projectiles, right? So we could maybe get it to 19 projectiles. But let's just be really safe, right? If there's 15 projectiles, and if it just looks like this when you attack, right? If it looks like this, let's just assume we have maybe 7 projectiles hitting if we scale some projectiles, right? We can get some projectiles on the tree, like on other stuff. Like there's a lot of ways we could get projectiles. So let's actually look in PoE again. So let's go to 14 because that would be the amount, because it would be 7 projectile hits and then 7 explosions. All of a sudden, we have pretty decent damage on a 4-link, on a poison build, on a shitty poison build with like decent defenses, right? Well, as tanky as you can get an assassin, right? With like shitty gear, not like the best gear, right? Nothing too crazy. I'm not doing anything crazy. Like just trying to see how much damage you can squeeze out of the skill. Now, if they actually shotgun and if they actually behave like that, like if you walk up to a boss and you're able to actually aim it properly, right? Because it shoots out in a rectangle, maybe get some projectiles. And if you can get it to that many projectiles in general, you might end up with a really high damaging skill. Now, that remains to be seen. What's really nice though, what is really, really nice though about it is if you're unaware with the skills, Kinetic Rain. Here you go. Yeah, Kinetic Rain can be purchased from Nessa by the Witch, Shadow, and Scion upon completing Siren's Cadence. So around level 12 is when you can get Kinetic Rain and try it out for yourself, which I plan on trying it out maybe, depending on if we get any more information about it. But we can try it. If it sucks, we can just throw it away and we can play a different assassin or a different shadow. Like I could just play a trickster for God's sakes at that point. So even if it ends up being shit, we can play something else. There's also Kinetic Fusillade as well, which is also available at that time. Kinetic Fusillade is interesting. It's a lot like that one skill in PoE 2. Now, I don't know how good this would be. You can actually use this on totems and mines and stuff like, I mean, you can use it with totems. I don't know how good that would be, but like we'd have to mess around with that. I don't think this would be good, but like, obviously I'm going to test out a bunch of stuff because we got time, right? But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think they can shotgun? Do you think they can't shotgun? What kind of prior history of skills do you know that like could allow this to work? I'm not entirely sure. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? We have no idea. With all that being said, this has been Dread. Off to go do something else. Bye.